I'm Tony Sklar with BNet TV. We are here at Mobile World Congress 2012 in Barcelona. I am speaking with Mr. Rasmus Holst from Mach. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing excellent.
Excellent. And how has the show been for you? This is day 2 and it's very busy.
It's very busy, and I think traffic's picked up in here this year. I think there's guarded optimism. Everyone's looking to see how can they actually improve their business. So a lot of focus also on the top line, not only to cut costs and make sure that we stay stable on the EBITDA production.
You know, it's so great from a business perspective to see the growth of definitely a company like Mach that has been around, got a good household name, been around for a while, and a lot of the things that you do that we're going to speak about that have been talked about for years are now in the market space, are now into fruition with with a lot of use cases. So for all the people out there in BNet TV land, why don't you give us a brief overview of Mach and where you're positioned in the ecosystem?
I mean, Mach is today a 1,000 people company, global, supporting over 640 operators globally. We grew out of a heritage where we did roaming clearing. That's what we're best known for. Our financial clearing is market leading. But now you'll also see that leading into the fraud space, the interconnect space, the mobile data advanced networks is also one of the, is the growth trajectory of Mach. So certainly expanding company from where we've been historically and where we're coming to now, but always with a managed service flavor.
So let's talk about some of the recent press announcements that you've had and how they've been received in the ecosystem.
I think one of the major ones is our launch of our fraud protection product, which effectively has now picked up. Not only you would say this might be for the African Tier 3 market that a managed service would be a really interesting thing, but effectively you see that's being picked up by European Tier 1s like Telefonica, where we had a press release out, and like one of the other big groups that's already, we also announced prior to the show. So that's really picking up because operators are really scared of losing their revenues on the back end of actually having earned them, rightfully so. Right. And the roaming market, of course, hosts a lot of this fraud, and therefore we are extremely well positioned in that particular space to help the operators lower their risk on fraud losses.
It's always great to talk about fraud use cases at a conference like this where you've got 60,000 people and a lot of them are roaming, so this is a really good opportunity to sort of expand upon that. But let's go a little bit further and talk about some of the other releases that you've had.
As we were saying, when you talk about fraud, that's sort of looking at protecting your revenues. One of the growth areas that we see is certainly mobile data. You will have here a lot of people with their mobile phones. They will all be on Wi-Fi. Think about this as a revenue loss opportunity for the roaming operator, Telefonica, Vodafone, several of these guys here. Effectively, people don't roam with their data. Why is that? Because they're afraid of their roaming bills. So what we've launched is, first of all, as the first part of our real-time service delivery platform, is what we call our data roaming engine. So effectively managing the user experience, managing price plans for roaming, managing the policies, the policy execution, all of that types of things in the roaming space. Telling you're here for a week, how about this would cost you 20 pounds to actually be online with maybe 50 megabytes of data, instead of now having a product or a service which is intransparent to you. You say, hey, I'm downloading emails, what is this to me? What is the cost to me? What is my cost restrictions? So this is the problem we are trying to address.
So it's great to talk about the roaming data because there's a huge loss of ARPU for the carriers because we as the end consumer get stuck with these massive bills, and it's why we don't use it. And how is that going to change? And is that something that the carriers want?
I think actually so, because there's a huge revenue opportunity out there. If you look at a crowd like this, business users, our analytics, and mind you, we have over 50% of the world's roaming data, so if we just look into it, more than 40% of us turn off our data roaming when we roam, which means that even in the corporate segment, you have a massive revenue opportunity that might overcome, the high profitability of roaming is still an issue and it's constantly being regulated. And if we as an industry actually embrace that and say, hey, there's a growth opportunity by having more people use it, then effectively you might, or you're making up for that particular revenue contribution loss that you may have by expanding your customer base.
I want to get back into some of the other products that Mach has too, but I wanted to add to what you were saying, the fact that the more devices that continue to come into the marketplace, the tablets, the different size tablets, as a corporate user, voice is no longer an interest anymore, realistically.
Yep.
I mean, we're seeing the pie chart less, the pendulum is swinging from voices becoming thinner and thinner and thinner in the ARPU chain. So it's all about data, but we're stuck on as much Wi-Fi that we can get out of a conference like this, which becomes thin because the infrastructure isn't there to support it.
Yep. That's why, and a further evolution of our service delivery platform is effectively the Wi-Fi offload product, because now you start to then look at how can you then cost optimize the roaming experience. Is that by using Wi-Fi? Is it using 3G where you're in coverage? Is it using LTE? So we've upgraded what we call our InstaStandard roaming hub to effectively support that. And that means on the back end, what we just discussed with the data roaming engine of managing packs, then that becomes a transparent user experience for the user, which I think is what you need in the subscriber segment. But then for the operators, they have a palette of choosing the way of hosting that traffic, whether on Wi-Fi, whether on WiMAX.
Where to load it, where to offload it, and how
exactly.
to make sure that their networks aren't being bogged down.
And if you continue that thought, the next evolution, which we've also just launched, is our data optimization piece of the service delivery platform. So if you start to do a package where you say, hey, we'll package in 10 megabytes or 50 megabytes, maybe you can only do Facebook, maybe you can only do email,
right.
Then all of a sudden, if you can compress that data to maybe half the usage, then again you start to drive up your profitability of the service, and that's again a tool that the operators can then use, either as a marketing tool to say you get more in your bundle, or to keep the cost savings on their own books. So again, you have a diverse range of opportunities for actually executing on the revenue opportunity here.
I want to move on. I want to touch a little bit about the M2M market.
Yes, and pieces of that. I mean, what you see from a company like Mach is that a lot of the machine-to-machine communication is roaming by default.
Yeah.
So even in our embedded business, you will need to have ways of solving what is the actual tariff between operators. Is an SMS sent from a truck the same value as an SMS sent from me to you when I'm here? Probably not, because that's low value information. Should you send that via an SMS or via data? So already on our embedded business, you have that issue that needs to be addressed. Subsequent, you then look at these things. They are in trucks. They're in every kind of moving vehicle, whatever.
And growing at a mass rate too.
At a massive rate.
The GSMA had announced a study back in November or mid-October regarding the M2M market space and the billions of dollars that inevitably it's going to be.
And that's why when you have that massive amount of devices and SIM cards out there, it's prone for fraud. So hence, I just started out talking about fraud, so you can almost guess where we are heading in this context. Full circle. So we've launched, prior to this event, we've also launched our product that effectively does fraud protection for the actual M2M market to ensure that all of these masses of SIM cards are not misused, because it is a huge drain on operators that, again, back to when you've rightfully sold something, you expect to get money from it and not have money dripping out of your pockets.
And finally, in conclusion here, what are we going to see from Mach here within the next, let's say, 12 months?
You're going to see more applications on top of our real-time service delivery platform. You're going to see that traverse into maybe social calling, maybe video sharing, all of those types of things. Still with, you could say, a roaming flavor, but more geared towards the domestic market, because that proposition starts to become integrated. Is it very different to buy a pack when you're roaming than when you're in your domestic market? Maybe not. The technology is at least the same. So that's at least some of the things that you're going to see us move into. You're going to see more focus on the revenue optimization in terms of our BI and analytics to get more out of the data that we effectively have, because we have a lot of data, and that was just some of the data points I shared with you during the conversation are effectively from data mining these things. So those are kind of things that you will see coming from us over the next 6 months.
Fantastic, Rasmus. Thank you very much for taking the opportunity to speak with us here at Mobile World Congress. Hope we get a chance for an update again in the future.
Thank you.
I've been speaking with Mr. Rasmus Holst from Mach here at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. I am Tony Sklar with BNet TV.